Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, buongiorno, buonasera, dzień dobry, dobry wieczór, ricati, Allah, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Jay Slater case, brief video, just one on the football. If you're not interested in football, don't watch the last video. But I might have something more to say on the football actually, because I've had a few extra thoughts. Anyway, leaving football aside, back to the Jay Slater case. Yeah, brief video because I just wanted to pick up on one aspect of the absolute garbage and nonsense that was written by one El Slugtardo in yesterday's post. I've got a lot to say. In fact, what I'm planning to do, uh, busy, busy, busy. I know, busy, busy, busy. But what I'd like to do, if I can get the time to do it, is to do a whole Friday, Saturday, maybe a whole Friday, Saturday, Sunday of going through one after the other the cases, the um, posts, the absolute nut job twaddle that's come out from South Wales of late, a whole super sluggy roast over and over again, because not only is it interesting to see how the mind of these liars, crooks, and fraudsters work, it's interesting to see how their supporters just follow along. And it's very interesting to see how they've reached the point where they cannot produce any evidence whatsoever to back up anything they say. It's just blanket insult, blanket false laughter. But there's no case that's being made at all by these accident group people to show that Jay must have died by accident. It is all just defense, 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 and it's looking rather pathetic. But let's get to the point. Let me pull up El Slugtardo's recent post, and I'll just read out one line. It's back to the LiDAR maps, I'm afraid, but let's deal with it. He says, how absurdly, stupidly optimistic, and deludedly imbecilic have you got to have to ask how LiDAR helped out? Point number one, El Slugtardo. No one, including myself, has to ask anything. So we don't have to ask about LiDAR maps or how it helped out. We choose to ask that question. I choose to ask that question simply because, El Slugtardo, I know that you can't answer it. And I love to repeat asking the question just to see you fail every single time the question is asked, fail to explain how it possibly helped you. I just love doing it. So part of the answer here is I ask this question repeatedly because I love to see you struggle, slither, wriggle, and full of shame, fail to explain to your followers what the answer is. There really is no such thing as a stupid question. So if you think the question about asking how LiDAR maps helped you find J is ridiculous, then so be it. But there are many, many people that don't. I'm not the only one in the class saying, please, sir, could you explain how LiDAR maps help? Just about everyone else in the class is asking you that question. And the ones that aren't asking you that question, the only reason they're not asking you that question is because they're on your side. They too have no idea how LiDAR maps helped you. Now, let's refine this a little bit more because it's not LiDAR that we're talking about here. You say, how absurdly, stupidly optimistic and deludedly imbecilic have you got to have to ask how LiDAR helped out? We all know, I think, how LiDAR could have helped out had you taken some real-time data and got the surface level all figured out on your 3D map. That would have been fine. No one is saying LiDAR, the technology itself, could not have helped you here. What we are saying, let's be clear, is the LiDAR maps you had, that you obtained from the Spanish government, that would not have had any indication at all that Jay's body was on that map, could not have helped you find Jay. This is the important part. Not how LiDAR helped out. It is how LiDAR helped you find Jay. Could not have helped you find Jay. You know it. I know it. Some of your dumb sheep kind of know it. All of the people that support me know it. We can go through this again. By the way, Chris doesn't understand it. Because Chris is on his video saying, oh yeah, Luggy's got his LiDAR maps. Google it and find out what it is. Chris has got no idea how it works. Luggy thinks he does, but he doesn't really get it. Let me just give you a quick example of how LiDAR maps work and how they can be very useful. Just for everyone to know. If you're looking at thick vegetation and you don't know how deep that goes, a regular map isn't going to help you. If you suspect that a Mayan temple is covered by the undergrowth and covered by the jungle, whether it be Guatemala or Mexico, you just can't see on a map. And you can't see from pictures above, your satellite pictures, you can't see if there's a Mayan temple under the trees there or not. But at least with a LiDAR map, once you've taken the data, once you've scanned that area, and effectively on the map, the vegetation has been removed, then you can see a whole load of stuff that may well help determine whether what you're looking for is there. Let's bring it back to Jay Slater's body. First of all, a lot of people don't use LiDAR, even with a real-time data scan, because the difference in surface level created by a human body may well not be detected by the whole LiDAR system anyway. When you're flying that drone up above, it might not be able to detect a change in surface level. That's why the Guardia Civil never used it, by the way, El Slugtardo. Right? If you say it helped you find Jay, you've also got to ask the question, why did the professionals, yeah, the ones that actually found Jay, why did they choose not to use it? The point here is, even if you've done your real-time data survey and got all that information logged and you've produced a LiDAR map to reflect that area when Jay Slater's body was there, you still might not have detected where his body is. But the maps you used, we're not criticizing LiDAR. We're not saying LiDAR couldn't have helped you. We're not saying LiDAR was a bad idea. What we're saying is the LiDAR maps that you used from the Spanish government that would have had all their data taken from when Jay was not there would not have shown Jay being there. Therefore, they could not have been used to find Jay's body. You might argue that the LiDAR maps were used to safeguard Chris's stumbling, bumbling around there. Oh, careful as you go left, that vegetation looks kind of shallow, but it's really deep. The LiDAR map is telling me that. Yeah, the LiDAR map is telling me you can't see it, but there's a chasm down there you don't want to go into. But even that doesn't actually help Chris, because Chris is there on the spot. Chris isn't going to go through this thick vegetation and suddenly fall down a chasm. It ain't going to happen that way, because the vegetation is so thick that it prevents him going through there. This goes back to the whole theory that if Jay wasn't able to get through this area, there's no point us looking for him there, which is also true. But let me just introduce the idea of the Emperor's new clothes, because this whole situation with El Slugtardo and LiDAR, and him not being able to explain it, pretending it's a stupid question, is the Emperor's new clothes. The Emperor's new clothes for Sluggy is his LiDAR maps. And the Emperor, El Slugtardo, keeps saying, the LiDAR maps were useful. The LiDAR maps helped find Jay. This is all true. You must accept it as true. And if you don't accept it as true, then you're stupid. Rather like the Emperor's new clothes. If you don't see that I'm wearing a beautiful gown, then you must be stupid. But as we know in the Emperor's New Clothes story, good old Hans Christian Andersen pointed out that the most innocent of the world will figure out when something ain't as it is described. Yeah, the little kid that says, wait a minute, you're naked. You're not wearing anything. And all of a sudden the whole crowd says, yeah, the kid's right. You know, up until that moment, in order for people not to feel stupid, they were saying, look at that fine embroidery. Look at that fine workmanship. What a great gown, attire this emperor is wearing. Yeah. But the kid realized it's all a load of nonsense. This is your emperor's new clothes moment, El Slugtardo. You keep saying, Everyone must be so stupid if they don't understand how our LiDAR maps helped find Jay. Okay, then let me be the little kid that says, you don't have any LiDAR maps that helped find Jay, and if you did, then it would be very simple for you to explain how exactly your LiDAR maps, what did they do? What was the achievement of the LiDAR map that got Chris in the right direction to finding Jay? That is something you'll never be able to answer because there is no answer because you lied, Slugtardo, from day one. Lied, lied, lied. You thought it would never get to this. At the moment you said, oh, let's mention LiDAR maps, you never thought there'd be some old git in a closet would say, wait a minute, you're lying. LiDAR maps can't possibly help you unless you've got real-time data. If you've got the real-time data, show it. You don't have it. You don't have a drone that flies over to get the real-time data to make the LiDAR map that shows possibly there is a body under the vegetation. You don't have it. And if you don't have it, you don't have a LiDAR map that can help you. Therefore, you're lying. You never thought it would come to this. It's come to this, and it's come to this repeatedly. And every time you mention, oh, they are too stupid to understand, I'm going to say, no, it's not that we're too stupid to understand. We do understand. You're too stupid to realize we understood from day one, and you're stuck with this lie now. Now, let's give a little bit of a homework assignment to the accident group. If Luggy is right in saying that we are all so stupid, that we can't understand how his LiDAR maps, specifically his LiDAR maps, helped find Jay, then Thomas Wilson, Gobshite from Glasgow, Kaz Alice, Jugglers, Pope Chris the First, Kay, Rosie, Melissa. Melissa, is she still with us? Melissa, all of you, why don't you just write a little comment under Luggy's last post and explain exactly how you're not stupid because you understand exactly how that LiDAR data and those LiDAR maps in the possession of El Slugtardo helped find Jay. Just explain it. Just complete the sentence. Thomas? Jamie? Just complete the sentence. Luggy's LiDAR maps helped find Jay because... Now, we will not get anyone explaining this or writing anything because they can't do it. And I love this moment. And I will keep roasting the liar from West Wales because, as I said, he never thought he'd have to defend this one. And there's so much more he's going to have to defend as we keep the pressure on. The crooks, the fraudsters, the charlatans are being held to account. Let's make it a mammoth weekend and grill these dishonest bastards as they should be grilled. That's my message of this Thursday evening, July 16th. Hasta luego. Hasta la próxima. See you next time. LiDAR maps. You total fishguard fool. Adios.